A little bit.
Eh.
All right, we are ready whenever you are.
Let me know when you're all set.
I'm all set.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna call the meeting of the West Warwick Board of Canvassers 11/10/2022 meeting to order. Roll call, members present, Nancy LeBlanc. Vice Chair, JP Millette. Voting member, Nancy Parenti. Filling in for the Democrat, Ray Lambert. And the alternate, Paul Richards. Approval of the minutes of the November 2nd, 2022 BOC meeting. Everybody got a copy and read it?
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Well, no, Nancy will.
I'll approve. Okay. Well, unanimous.
Okay.
Certification of provisional ballots from the November 8th, 2022 general election.
So usually I like to put a report in front of you for the mail ballots, the provisional ballots. However, me and Colleen are still diligently working on them. We have determined how each one, if it's qualified or disqualified. So we do have the numbers for you. We just haven't been able to, we received 92 provisional mail ballots this election.
92?
92. So in each one of them, you have to go in, you have to either register them to vote, even if we're disqualifying them, we have to register them, pull them from other towns. So as you can imagine, it takes a little bit of time. Colleen hasn't left her desk. She didn't even take a lunch yesterday. So we still have about 30 more that we need to process. However, we have determined whether they are qualified or disqualified for you. That report that.
Yeah, I've already looked them up in the system and made the determinations, but to enter each one takes about 10 minutes.
And we have to do that in order to get that
But I
report
knew
that I
were
gave
having
you
a
guys
meeting,
last
so I
time.
finished looking them all up.
I just need a final number so they can know.
Yeah.
So out of the 92 that we received, thank you. 50 of them are disqualified for various reasons, whether they weren't registered to vote, they're registered in another town, whatever. We have 8 that are qualified for federal offices only. So when the Board of Elections processes those ballots, it will only be the federal office that will count, which is Congress.
They lived in West
Just-
Warwick, but went to the wrong.
Just the
polling location.
congressional seat?
Yes, or they moved to West Warwick, but more than 6 months ago.
Okay.
So they didn't have, they couldn't go back to their prior polling location. 32 of those are full ballots, that they're qualified for a full ballot. And for a total of 90, then we had 2 people who don't live in West Warwick, say they don't live in West Warwick. And so we need to
Or in
reach,
the area, so
but
pop
they
in to
stopped
vote.
by. I don't know why someone would do that, but they did. And so those are 2, we bring those to the Board of Elections and we give them to them. They then in turn get them to their correct town, which then they'll ultimately be disqualified.
Okay.
So that was a total of 92 that we received.
So there was 2.
I can repeat those numbers for you.
Residents trying to vote here.
One person is duly registered in East Providence, the other was.
He wrote right on the
Warwick.
thing. He lives in East
Warwick,
Providence.
yeah, the other one was Warwick. I live in Warwick, but they thought they could go anywhere.
What did they do with
So
it?
I have to give them to Board of Elections when I go there this
And
afternoon.
does the Board of Elections give it to East Providence?
Correct. Whatever
It tells
town.
them to not count it because they voted in West
Could
Warwick.
they count statewide office? Like governor and that stuff, because it doesn't matter where you vote for that.
I don't know honestly what they do with those.
Okay. Just
But-
curious. I mean, I know they can't vote for like town council here. and things like
Right,
that,
exactly.
or Reps and stuff like that, but I wonder if the statewide offices would. I mean, it really doesn't matter. It's kind of like voting on the
Yeah,
president.
but East Providence might not have, they obviously don't have the same state reps as us, so they
Right.
might not be in the same congressional district
Right.
as us.
Well, I
So,
know there was one in particular early in the morning that her address on her license, I get, was Coventry. says she had a house in Coventry, but she lives in West Warwick and she came to vote at Sacred Heart where she's always gone to vote.
Yeah,
Maybe she's always been disqualified or,
I don't know.
but she did a provisional, so.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that particular one offhand.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's quite an undertaking to get those done, and we're really hoping to have them completed so we can get all this Board of Elections today. I
So
mean,
how-
we have until Monday morning to do it, but I think both of us would like to put this to bed today and,
Hmm.
So what are we gonna do with the other 30 then?
we're gonna process them. We're already telling you guys how they are, if they're qualified or disqualified. We've been able to determine, sorry, I can't even talk anymore, the disposition of each of them. We just haven't actually processed them in order for them to go on the report for you.
So the ones that
Okay.
you process are 92.
No, we've processed
68.
68.
68?
The rest
Okay.
have already been looked up. I've determined whether they live here or not. I just have to go back in the computer and type them.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll approve 68 of them?
I'm asking because it's really just, it's just the report that, and I can get it to you guys again afterwards to show how we did it. But we are already telling you guys exactly how they're all, we just need you to say that there's 50 that are qualified. There's 8 that are qualified for federal offices only. I'm sorry, 50 that are disqualified,
Okay.
8 that are federal offices only, 32 that are full ballot qualified, for a total of 90 provisional ballots.
Okay,
And 2, including the ones that I have to give back to Board of
So we gotta
Elections.
go
The
to different-
disposition of each has been determined.
It has, yes, and that's all we're
The
asking
research
is,
is the hard part. I have to go back in and type now.
One time we showed up and there was 3 done. Remember the meeting?
3?
No, the clerk had 3. Only 3 of those out of,
right, yeah, and we had to come back, yeah.
I've been doing these since
Oh, I
yesterday
know, but
morning
you-
at 7.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's
Yeah, if-
unfortunate
if
that
it
we have
wasn't-
so many. There's quite a few that shouldn't have been provisional ballots. I think that the training that the clerks are receiving on that is not adequate. And I hate to say that, but I mean, this is kind of an example of, there's a lot of people in there that they shouldn't have been provisional ballots. They should have been voting.
They're on the list.
they're on the
duly
list,
registered,
right.
Been in their house for
And I
30 something
think it's
years. They had their
when-
license. It's like, why did you give them a provisional? It's so much
I-
work. but-
That happened to me one of the past elections, because when they pull up my name on the poll pad, it's got provisional somewhere around there. But that's if you're voting a provisional ballot,
Right,
not that you have to. And I showed that to Nellie Gobert when she came into the Civic Center one time. I
yeah,
said, this is coming up. Some people have it, some people don't. And that's what's causing confusion for the poll workers. When they see it, they think the person has to vote provisional.
that happened to us in the primary over at St. Mary's.
Yep.
The poll workers were pulling up names, they'd see provisional on the bottom and they send
Yep.
them to the clerk's
Right,
table.
yep.
And yeah, that's an issue.
And that's, like you mentioned, though, that's a training issue. And
a training
but it's
issue.
weird because the provisional thing shows up on some people and not on others.
Right,
So that's something on the Board of Elections, I think, or Secretary of State.
well, it
so
must be in
whoever
the
knows the-
programming, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's
Yeah.
something on how the people's names are, something that when it's put into the poll pad.
yeah, I think most people, it actually says provisional under there.
I mean, you
Because
think it
I've
should
kind of
be
been
for-
looking at it when we had early voting, I noticed that it
Yeah,
popped
Because
up on
I
most,
think it should be there for everybody,
just in case
just in
they,
case you
right,
have to vote provisional. But if a person really needs to vote provisionally, then there's like a red banner that comes. up or
Right.
something.
And in the primary, we only have 31, so we have triple this time.
yeah.
And
That makes sense because of the turn, I would think because of the turnout too.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does,
And I
but
bet you some people that voted provisional, if they went to the same place and everything showed the same in the primary, they made them vote provisionally in the general because this is what happened back in the
Well,
primary.
Our numbers are accurate. Everybody's been researched.
yeah. So at least,
Didn't we take a supervisor in one polling location?
and move them
make
to clerk,
So
yes,
that person did not have the training.
right. The good thing is that, that was at Christ the King. The good thing is the moderator went over and sat with her, so they
But
helped,
but
so,
the clerk doesn't determine the provisionals, it's usually the supervisors that do. send them to the
they'll
clerk.
send them to the clerk, yeah,
Right. So it
Yeah.
starts at the supervisor desk, whether or not somebody's gonna be told to be voting provisionally.
yeah. Yep, and sometimes it's just a matter that-
Yeah,
Sometimes it's just a
This
matter that the
person vote.
supervisor isn't finding their name in there, so I think, I don't know, I think that we definitely need to work on the training of that. I mean, I know we don't do the training per
Right.
se, but, it's, if we find ways to improve that and even make the clerks and the moderators, a little bit more comfortable with the tricks that, we all know with
Yeah.
the poll pads, and if you only put in the first three letters, or just put in their date of birth if their name isn't showing up, because it could be someone who's changed their last name, or they could be under their old name.
Most of them have been solved, the mysteries.
Yeah, because there's a lot of them.
it'd
That-
be interesting in statewide how many people voted provisionally that show up as like they shouldn't be voting provisionally, to see what kind of percentage you get.
Yeah,
Because if there's a bunch that people shouldn't be, then that means that's definitely a thing for the training.
yeah. Yeah, we did have quite a few. As you can see, we have 32 full ballots that were qualified.
Right. Yeah, so a third of all the provisionals, basically.
Correct.
And then when you get rid of the disqualifications, then it's a lot more.
Right.
It's,
I've looked them up every which way, match signatures, and you just can't
Yeah.
understand why the clerk had them vote,
Right.
but you want them, at the end of the day, you don't.
We
want
wanna
them to
make
be
sure they
disfranchised, you want
count.
them to
Right,
full
exactly,
count.
yeah.
So, like I said, all the research has been done, that's the hard part. Now I have to go back in and type why they were given a provisional, that we are
Yeah.
gonna accept it, that kind of thing, it's mostly notes now.
So, do you kind of suggest to the Board of Elections that they increase their training? or-
Yeah, I mean, I think we have opportunities as clerks. We go to trainings and meetings with them in the off election years, and kind of roundtable about improvements that we can make. And I definitely, think I think all of us, all the people that I know in my position, I think we would all like to come up with some different ways. I mean, maybe bringing the supervisor training back in locally. I would really like to do that personally, because of the fact that I feel like bringing in 30 to 40 people sitting in here watching a screen, I just don't feel like they're retaining it quite the same way that if they had it in front of them.
I like to pull them behind the counter.
Yeah, so that's why,
This
and
is
we
what
did
you're
the
gonna be
best we
doing.
could
Like,
as
it was
far
the-
as
Yep.
telling them to come in and vote early so we could show them how it works. But I mean, like even your wife, JP, I remember her saying like, after that training, she still didn't feel
Yeah.
like,
And then I was like, I'll show you.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but after the second training, she was better.
yeah, and well, she's
She
done
got-
it
well,
now
she-
and
She knew what they were talking about.
but I just think,
First time you don't know what you're talking about.
exactly,
Then she
Exactly.
knew what they were talking about the second time.
It's
Right.
presented in a scary manner, like this, oh my gosh,
I
I'm gonna
know.
be able to do this.
Yeah.
I think that we should
And
do.
it's like, you're gonna drop the license on the sleeve.
And what
Really,
about,
don't
what
be
about
nervous.
future meetings, just all the suggestions that we have?
yeah. Well, if you ever have anything,
Improve. You save that for a meeting and then you could bring it to the Board of Elections or the Secretary of State.
yeah. Yep,
Yeah, I mean, well, we were all talking before about the position to be easy mark and
I know.
the supervisors, the names, the supervisor gets the thing and asks them, are you John Paul Millet, 29 Park Street? The other way around. And then the moderator gets, no, what is it? And the moderator said, she's telling me, no.
yeah,
You ask them if,
yeah, she said, no, that's what the training said to do, and it's like, no, it's the other way around.
Yeah,
what she's confused about after it's done, then the supervisor has to say it in order for the checkers to hear.
Right,
right.
But you don't tell the voter who he is or she is. right?
No,
Anyway,
I always tell them,
like I said,
ask
save
them
that
to
for
state
another-
their
you
name,
can save that
and then
for
I
another
repeat
meeting.
it back to them.
Right. Yeah, just confirm your name and address.
Yep.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to certify the provisional ballots as presented from the November 8th, 2022 general election.
So moved.
Second that.
I vote yes also.
Yes,
All right, thank you.
the write-ins. Take a look at them. Anybody look at them?
Does that, yeah,
Certification of write-ins from the November 8th, 2022 general election. Then, does anybody want to see the write-in sheets?
I've seen, so,
I'm gonna be seeing him in my nightmares.
I looked at some,
You kind of know from previous years.
fall asleep when we see the provisional ballots.
You want this?
Mickey Mouse is definitely next in line for all offices.
So I'll entertain a motion. Certifying the write-ins from the November 8th, 2022 general election.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Yes, also.
Yes.
It's unanimous. Okay, certification of the tabulation of votes from the November 8th, 2022 general election. We all got that sheet. The only thing I want to comment, it really shows how the early voting and the mail ballots really did take a burden off of the polling places.
Big time,
Yeah,
big time.
which was a good thing.
It
It's
really was.
probably what facilitated the speediness of, at the end of the night, getting everything through.
Yes,
Yeah,
It does
that
help there.
And that system of having them go there first and then come here, that worked out, I thought, very well. I thought
Good.
it really made for an easier process.
I definitely agree. I think that the end of night was much easier, even this election, than it was in the primary. Very fast. I didn't expect to be out of here as early as we were. I'll
It
say
was
that.
Over an hour earlier.
Yeah.
last time, hour and a half.
Yep.
So do I have I'll entertain a motion for that certification of the tabulation of votes.
So moved.
I'll second that.
I as well. It's unanimous. Public comment?
I have nothing.
I just think that you guys did an excellent job, really.
Thank you.
It was smooth. It went off without a hitch. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
In my experience in the few years that I've been doing this, that you guys are the best.
Yeah,
Thank you.
out of the
Thank you.
park.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. You know what?
Man, I tell you,
I think we all
it
collectively
was so
make a
much
good
easier
team.
For us, because of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was very easy.
Thank you.
Definitely echo the same thing. I mean,
Well,
you know, the whole office here did everything. You guys did everything.
I
all
have-
the Stuff that,
And Michelle too, she
Are
was
great.
a big help. Yes.
Vanessa going to Christ the King, like I am so grateful for,
Mhm.
my staff and you guys for really getting us through that day.
Yeah, especially being, without the chair, it
Yeah.
really, it went very well. A
Yeah,
lot, very smooth.
I mean,
Thank you.
thank
there
you.
really weren't
Thank
any
you.
major hiccups during the day. The ones that we had were pretty easily solved, so there's nothing,
Thank God for that.
really, I mean. But that's a good testament to all the workers we got out there and stuff at all the different polling places.
Yeah.
I think that,
We lucked out in the poll worker aspect. I mean, me coming in, not really having a rapport with many poll workers beyond, for the all-day referendum. So
Yeah.
we are able to call in our best for that, or our special election. And so having to come up with that many, and Colleen was on the phone. She really, there wasn't anyone who didn't come in here for a birth certificate, and she was like, you want to be a poll worker? She really was good at following up with everybody and making sure.
I
Yeah,
know,
you
why
did.
will you
I
have
mean, you-
enough? I said.
But we
"Okay,
didn't
I'll
know,
get
it was
promises."
bodies. We didn't know the quality of people that, and we really got lucky.
And there were only 2 no-shows,
Only 2.
Yes,
and it was a pair.
yes, I had a pair of
was a pair
supervisors
of-
call out and I said, we're gonna wing it at St. Mary's, and it was
Yeah.
fine.
Yep.
And then Amy had to leave at Christ the King,
Yeah.
Yep.
so we moved someone over to
Yep.
clerk and Vanessa went in as supervisor.
Mrs.
We
Fitz.
even pulled in our own people.
It's really difficult because, we had a list of alternate poll workers, but when you don't find out, like she had called to confirm everybody on Friday.
right.
Because we wanted to know, and we fully expected to walk in Monday and someone would have called out or something, and nothing. And we're like, oh, okay. But then when you get the call out or you find out of no shows that morning, to call these people on our alternate list. They, you know, now
And I
they've made
did.
plans. She did.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's so difficult.
is.
It's almost like you have to overhire, tell people they need to be there.
Yeah.
And not that they're an alternate, that
No,
they
I-
need to be
yeah.
there. by
I
a
would
few.
have, I made plans from going
I
out to
know.
lunch. If you told me yesterday, I'm like, I
Right.
didn't know yesterday.
Right.
sorry.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing, I mean, most people, if they're not, if they hit by Monday, if they're not needed, then they go, they make their plans.
Right,
I mean,
or they work
maybe-
for another municipality or,
Or
I'm
they,
glad it
they
worked
just
out
may
at
be
St.
working,
Mary's.
they just working a day job and they would have taken it
Yeah.
off if they had, proper notice.
Mhm.
but yeah, I think things went great at St. Mary's in particular. I know we were all worried about St. Mary's.
Yeah, that's where
Um,
the extra two were supposed to go.
And then
again,
to
the
lose
setup-
the,
The setup, the way you set it up was,
thank you, well,
took the edge off of me.
thank you. You know, but I think we had great poll workers there and I think that, you know, the flow really worked well and they
And I heard
definitely had the volume.
The poll workers at Sacred Heart Church want to work together again at the next.
Yeah.
They
election.
do.
Yeah.
They do, yeah.
I've already got 5 polls that said the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they get along very well.
That's good.
Yeah, I was teasing because we're so overworked. I was like, I'll leave a note for the next girl.
The moderator at Sacred Heart last time, that didn't work this time, was in Florida.
Oh,
Yeah,
He was in
Yeah.
Florida, that's-
I called them
yeah, he's
in Florida. I called them.
Yeah.
I was like, did you come home yet? Someone called. He's like, no, we're calling tomorrow. I said, all right.
yeah, he was in Florida.
I knew you
I
weren't
was wondering
working,
why
but
it
I was
didn't
just
work.
trying.
but yeah, no, I think you're right, Paul. I mean, there's always going to be hiccups and there's always going to be things that we need to deal with on election day. But I think we
Yeah, I
got
think-
lucky.
We just
We all
wanna
went
get
to every
this back.
polling place.
Yeah,
And I think that they were all very well organized and the flow was great.
and the feedback from the voters was good too. I mean, I did receive a couple of only 2 calls about, or one was an email about
One
St.
call,
Mary's.
one email.
as far as being in the wrong polling location, but that's 2. I
Yeah,
mean,
the Macy Quinn and St. Mary's
Yeah, no,
situation.
he said it, quite a few.
yeah, but
Yeah,
they
so
went and they were
ready
fine.
to go.
Yeah, and they
Yeah,
were
I guess
fine.
A couple of them had their cards.
Yeah,
Yeah, the originals.
Yeah.
And
the
then-
original cards.
Yeah, but then you explain that, you know, they got flip flopped and they're okay with hearing the
She
explanation.
had said something about the doors are supposed to be held open.
They are ADA compliant.
So here's the thing, and I think we've discussed it, and I don't want to get too
We could say this
off
another
topic,
meeting.
right? But I think that we do need to, on a future agenda or roundtable or whatever, talk about the whole ADA compliance thing, because, you know,
Yes.
from my perspective, Colleen and I went out with the Board of Elections back in June, went to all of our polling locations to check all of them for ADA compliance, and anything that they recommended to us, we did. And so it's difficult when the day of an election, I even went around Friday to make sure that all the recommendations, because some of the things were like posting the inaccessible signs. Obviously, we don't do that. So the DPW goes down and I went with one of the members of DPW, went to every single location to make sure they had enough spots, as many as recommended, the signage was correct. Like we went and
We
did
that
everything.
last week.
And then
we
they
also
still
went with the
show up on
DPW
election
member and
day.
drove around.
Well, DPW had to forget putting those things up at Cardi's. Because there was no.
one extra one. Yeah.
None at all.
No, there is one.
Just, well, one van
One
accessible.
van accessible.
That's about 6 spaces up from the door.
That's the one that they told us we had to
That's what they
use.
told us
But,
to
but
use.
I was-
And then on the day, it seems
the
like
day- but
everything
the day of
changes,
it-
what they said.
Shouldn't have been like 2 parking spots. The closest 2 parking spots to the door should have been for handicap.
They asked
Because that's
us,
what we wound up doing
right. So
when we went down there.
because of the slope and everything else, they
Not
told
this-
us,
yeah, yeah.
the ADA people told us that that was the one that we needed to use, but they did suggest putting up one more spot there. So that's what that was. But that's what I mean, like we are fulfilling whatever their suggestions were.
We still can't-
And I think in that particular thing, it has to do with the slope, and that's why the handicap has to be further down versus there. Versus next to the door, because I always think closest to the door too, but I don't know. I'm not.
And I guess down the road, we'll address St. Mary's and Maisie Quinn
Yeah.
or.
Yeah, how we're gonna
Ward
handle that.
4 Situation and.
I'm really surprised that they just can't put it back to the way we had it.
Yeah,
It's so simple.
we just have to get
Do
permission every
pandemonium That
election.
would set
That's
in
what-
now. if we
There was only what,
re-swap them
400
again.
voters voted to Macy Quinn and 1,200 at St. Mary's,
I know,
you know.
I think we need to eliminate.
Yeah,
Saturdays.
that's why we had
just
switched
eliminate it
them,
at
but
all,
We
yeah.
can address it. We were lucky this time, so, but
We did, I
in
think
the
we did really well.
presidential,
But,
it
and
might
would,
not be.
and would they let us make an exception, maybe put 2 polls in Macy Quinn?
Yeah, we can definitely ask for that.
Big enough, you know, large that is.
I think it's safe to say that we probably won't be using St. Mary's in 2024, one way or another.
Yeah, okay.
That's my feeling on it. I think it went well. We didn't have any problems this time, but I expect 2024 is going to be quite an election.
But where would you go?
So I'm gonna look into that Christian Hill option because that's within district.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna look into that
Big problem.
option, and then Plan B would be, you know, the Mazie Quinn, maybe combining and going to Mazie Quinn.
Yeah, one poll goes to the cafeteria, the other one goes to the gym.
So some
yeah.
people would have to vote out of district, and we might have to get special permission from the Board of Elections.
Sure.
But
Get it in writing for a permanent situation. Can you do that?
I don't think so. I think we have
No?
to ask every time.
So
but
you
we can
have, every
find-
time you have to ask. See, Mary Ann must have been asking and, or sent something in and we didn't know about that.
Yeah,
We just took it for granted. that it was-
Yeah. That it was a done deal kind of thing, but
yeah. Well, we'll definitely,
Well, the
Look at
redistricting
that
probably had
situation.
something to do with it too. They probably redistricted.
could be,
Like,
could be. I don't know. I'm just grateful that we didn't have any big catastrophes up
Right.
there. And
yes, it worked out. It worked out.
because
fine.
I was pretty anxious
They
about
said it
it.
was only a couple of lines.
Yeah,
First, when they first opened, there was a line.
That's,
And then around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, there was a short, and after that, they said.
I
Yeah,
think-
that's a busy
They're
time.
just
Right.
steady all day long.
I think most of our polling locations had a line first
they
thing
do, usually at 7, they do.
because people want to beat the rush.
Yep.
But
As long as you don't make noise, you had a good election.
yeah,
I've been reading about Arizona. Something's.
So is there anything else?
No.
No? Okay, I'll make a motion. Well, no, I
I'll move to
will
adjourn.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's
Aye.
unanimous. Adjourning at